So Scott Driscoll, what's the first thing you want to tell these folks about Facebook and other social networking sites?
I think the first thing everyone needs to know about is they're not going to go away. The sites are going to be around. What we have to do is we have to learn to, one, communicate with each other and as families, and two, we have to think safety.
Okay, so let's talk about how to do that. So what's the first thing we want to ask these folks about Facebook?
Well, I think the first thing we should ask the parents is, are they aware their children have Facebook accounts?
Yes.
Yeah, I am, but my son won't friend me.
Which is one thing we want to talk about. So what is Facebook to you? I mean, what do you guys think about this Facebook, you know, this technology?
It can be a big time waster, or for my kids in some cases, it's a great way to stay in touch with people who live far away, that they would probably not talk to as often if they didn't use Facebook.
Now, what are some things that you find parents are often not aware of about Facebook?
I think parents aren't aware that there are safety features that can be set. I think the parents are also not aware of how many friends teenagers will add onto their Facebook accounts.
So how many of you know how many friends your kids have on their Facebook account?
I don't.
How many of you know many of the friends who they have on their Facebook account? Some. Some? You know some of them? So do you take time to actually look at their Facebook account and look at their friends list?
Sometimes, but you know, you don't want to cringe on their privacy either.
Right.
So there's a balance, there, but and how much they want to share with you too.
Do you guys know? Have you taken any steps, security steps on their Facebook accounts?
None.
None. Would you even know how? I mean, frankly, I'll tell you, I wouldn't even know how to start.
No.
I know you would.
Yeah, I would know how to start. My son's a little bit older than I think some of the folks that we're talking about right now. But yeah, there are a lot of privacy settings. Parents can, you know, gain access. I have a little daughter at home who wants a Facebook account, and the deal we're negotiating is that your friends will be my friends before they become your friends.
Yeah. All right.
And I think that's one approach that you can take.
I think another important thing is we use the word friends very lightly. A friend is not a stranger. A friend is someone we know in the real world. Right. But when Facebook and this technology opens up, that we drop our guard of what a stranger really is. And people will allow them to be friends on Facebook when they're complete strangers.
Let's talk to the kids for a minute. So everybody have a Facebook account?
Yes. Yeah.
What about Twitter?
No.
Any other social networking sites besides Facebook?
MySpace.
Yeah. You're on MySpace? Now, so I'm more familiar with Facebook, so let me ask you some of those questions. Paul mentioned a minute ago that he didn't want to infringe on anyone's privacy, so let's talk about that. Show of hands, how many of you guys would resent it if your parents insisted on being all over your Facebook? Yeah. Well, a hand comes up a little bit. Tell me why.
Well, I talked to some of my friends on there, and some of the things we talk about are private. I mean, they're for just us. I mean, I wouldn't say they're anything bad, but it's just private, you know?
Right. I suppose if you were standing somewhere talking to a friend, you wouldn't necessarily want a parent hovering over you right there.
Exactly.
Either.
Yeah. I'd find that rather annoying.
Yeah, yeah. I hear that word a lot. Teenagers use that word.
Can I ask Toria a question?
Sure, yeah.
Toria, all your friends on Facebook, do you know them from school, and do you know them in the real world besides the cyber world?
I know them, but if I'd consider them real friends, I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily talk to them at school, but I'll see them in the halls. But at least I know them.
Do you guys friend people on Facebook that you don't know? Because you get requests all the time, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So what process do you go through? What about you, Chris?
You could be quite acquainted with them, and then they'll ask, do you have a Facebook? And you could say yes, and they'll add you, but you might never see them ever again.
Yeah.
So you can see what they're up to daily when they update, but you might not have a need to know.
So what is the process? Nico, how about you? What's the process you go through if you get a request on Facebook? What goes through your mind? If it's a complete stranger, are you going to friend them?
Probably not. Normally, when I get a friend request on Facebook, I'll click on their profile and see if I have any mutual friends with them. And if I don't, then I won't add them unless it's someone I know. But if I do know them, then I'll add them.
Okay, and TJ, how about you?
Well, I won't add anyone I don't know, but like pretty much if I've had a conversation with them before, or like talked to them before, then I will add them.
Because if you have people who are your friends on there, I mean, there are ways you can block certain things, you can allow some people to see everything, but you want to use this as a social, it's a social networking site, you want to use it as a social way to reach out to your friends. And if you have people on there who are strangers, you have strangers who are able to read what you write and essentially listen in on your conversations, right?
Yeah.
Not so good?
Well, yeah, but I also think that I know we're painting, you know, a necessarily dire kind of scenarios, but I think that the young people have identified that they're doing their own vetting. If they have friends on there that may know them, and that's the whole aspect of social networking, and especially how we're using it in communication fields and journalism specifically, you know, they're vetting these folks. And if it's just a random stranger, yeah, you're not going to friend them. But if your friends who you know and trust are friends, there might be a connection. There might be a necessary social connection down the road that you might want to, you know, take advantage of.
And this is basically your life. You know, we've talked about this many times. I'm sure you've talked about this many times. These are kids growing up, and Facebook to them is as important to them as the telephone was to us when we were growing up.
Well, if you think about it, when we were growing up, Total Phone came out, and we could talk to two friends at the same time. That was the coolest thing going. Yeah. Now with Facebook and instant messaging, you could talk to hundreds of friends at a time, and that's one of the things. It spreads quick. Everyone can communicate. Two people can communicate on Facebook at nighttime. Half the school will know about it the next day because of it. And there's good points and bad points to it. It's the biggest concern I see with young kids is when they're talking to strangers. If they're talking to just their friends, it's a safer way to do it. It's not always 100% safe, but it's a safer way to do it. Once they allow one or two strangers in, then they really have to be careful what they're saying.
And the other thing you have to be careful about with Facebook is you put photographs on there, and you write things on there about activities you've been involved with and parties that you've gone to and vacations you've gone on. But the thing, if you put the wrong thing on there, you know, that can have ramifications that will follow you in job interviews and all kinds of getting into college and all kinds of things.
Absolutely. There are employers that are now doing part of background investigations where they're requiring people to open up their social networking sites and seeing what's on there. And there are colleges that are now in the process, and I know scholarship committees are in the process of saying, you need to show us your social networking sites before we go any further.
Were you guys aware of that?
Yeah.
I was. Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's bottom line it for us then, Scott. What's the thing you want to say to them about it? What's the thing you want to say to them about it?
To the kids, I would say there's no 100% safe way to use it. But if you're doing it safe, every time you sit at the computer, one question to ask, am I communicating with strangers? If you say I'm not, then you're doing okay. If you have to pause for 1 second and say, how do I know this person, or do I know them? Are they going to be able to see my wall? Then you want to be very careful of what you put up there. Parents, be diligent, talk to them. I agree that social networking is not going to go away, and it's got a lot of great pluses. But if we put our heads in the sand and don't know what they're doing, things can happen. Not that we don't trust our kids, but the other people on the internet, we can't trust. So we have to have a good communication with our kids, and taking a look at it every once in a while is a good thing.
All right.